Alrighty. What a day, what a day on this beautiful Thursday, February the 24th of 2022. Yes. So I intended to do a video on Wednesday. However, I was just too tired. I was too tired. My body wouldn't even let me do a video. So I'm here today because I don't want to miss out on this opportunity. There has been changes that's been going on with my schedule. So now I have a little bit more leverage to do more videos on a consistent basis like I want to. Yeah, so that's the thing. So my schedule has changed, whatnot. But today I want to get into the topic about Walter Dean Meyers. All right. And I misspelled his name. I noticed that. Okay, so Walter Dean Myers don't get enough credit because he was a very phenomenal author and he was mostly talked about back in the early 2000s and the late 90s. He was known for writing a lot of children's books, young adults books. Like if you go into the library and you go to the young adult section, which is the teenager section, right, you will see his books over there. And most of his books was pertaining to African Americans, particularly males, but it was pertaining to African Americans' life and growing up in America and how it was like growing up in the ghetto and all of that. So he wrote a lot of fiction books. His book was very fictional, but it was based on African Americans' life. And I don't hear his name being mentioned very often. Um, like I say, he doesn't receive enough credit within the African American literature community or just in history in general. So I wanted to take the time out and to do information on him and study his biography. So he passed away in 2014, sadly. Now, what is so funny is I went to school with his granddaughter. We went to high school together, and his daughter came up to the school one time. Right, they had like this little event up there at school. We was in high school, by the way, and she was basically talking about her father's life and his legacy and whatnot and things like that. So at that time period, I was into like writing poetry and stuff like that. Yeah, I was into writing. So and he became like one of my inspiration behind it. So but I'm on the writer block. So so what that means is I done ran out of thoughts, ran out of things I want to write about at the moment, but eventually I'm gonna get back into it. I have to get into it, but yeah, I've been on the writer block for some years now. I've been on the writer block for like maybe about good 5 years, good 5 or 6 years. I've been on the writer block for a long time. And trust me, that is no fun when you're on the writer block because you just ran out of things to talk about. You ran out of things of what you want to say, you know. But they're eventually gonna come back to you. Yes. But let me go ahead and share his biography because I don't want to take too much time here, just running off at the mouth. All right. So, as a matter of fact, let me show you the picture for those of you who may not know who he looked like. Okay, so as you can see, that's a picture of him. All right, later in his years, that's him. Now we can get into the biography. Okay. So, and I also got a list of books that I would like for you guys to look into. And also I'll be able to make sure that I share some information to you guys on Facebook. So I got some more stuff I gotta share anyhow. If you follow my page. Okay. So, anyways, this is Walter Dean Myers, and let's look at his timeline. So he was born Walter Milton Myers on August the 12th of 1937, and he died on July the 1st of 2014. So he was an American writer of children's books, best known for young adult literature. He was born in Martinsburg, West Virginia, but was raised in Harlem. A tough childhood led him to writing, and his school teachers would encourage him in this habit as a way to express himself. He wrote more than 100 books, including picture books and nonfiction. He wrote the Coretta Scott. He won the Coretta Scott King Award for African American authors 5 times. His 1988 novel Fallen Angels is one of the books most frequently challenged in the U.S. because of its adult language and its realistic depiction of the Vietnam War. Myers was the third U.S. National Ambassador for Young People's Literature, serving in 2012 and 2014. He also sat on the board of advisors of the Society of Children Books, Writers, and Illustrators. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and let's look at this. So at the age of 3, Myers was given over to Florence Dean, the first wife of his biological father, George Myers, and her husband, Herbert. Okay. So the reason why Walter Myers was given over because his mother had passed away. So when his mother died, his father decided that he would be better off with his first wife, with his ex-wife and her husband, as far as being taken care of, because he wasn't able to do it. He wasn't able to raise him. So yeah, he was given over to the first wife of his biological father, George Myers, and her husband, Herbert. Okay, so her name was Florence Dean. That's the woman that took care of him. So Florence and Herbert Dean raised him in Harlem, New York City. Herbert Dean was an African American man, and his wife was a German and Native American woman who taught English at the local high school. Myers later took Dean as his middle name in honor of his foster parents, Florence and Herbert. Okay. So Myers' life as a child centered on the neighborhood and the church. The neighborhood protected him and the church guided him. He was smart but did not do well in school and was considered a disruptive student. As a child, Myers was often teased for his speech impediment and lashed out at those who teased him. Now, let's talk about speech impediment for a minute. You got to be careful making fun of folks who don't have great speaking skills. So a person who got speech impediment means that they don't have great communication skills. They're not good at, they stutter a lot, or they'll stumble a lot over their words. So that means that if they was asked to stand up in front of class to read something or to present something, they may not be able to get through the whole entire paragraph because they might stumble or they might stutter. All right. So it is like a condition that a person deals with, especially in their childhood. And you tend to be outcast. You tend to feel like you don't belong anywhere because of that impairment. People think that because somebody have a speech impediment that they is retarded and they don't have no type of adequate skills, and that's not true. Okay, that's the biggest misconception you could ever have about somebody who got speech impairment. That doesn't equate for them to being retarded. That just mean that they don't have strong communication skills. They just not a strong speaker. That's all it is. All right. Anyways, so seeing him struggle, a teacher urged him to use writing as a way to better express himself. During this time, he cultivated the habit of writing poetry and short stories and acquired an early love of reading. Myers wrote well in high school, which his teacher, Bunny LeBeau, recognized. She also suspected that he would drop out and advised him to keep writing no matter what happened. He did not exactly understand what that meant, but years later, while working on a construction job in Chicago, he remembered her words. Myers would write at night, soon writing about his difficult teenage years. When asked what he valued most, he replied, "My books. They were my only real friends growing up." Myers attended public school 125 on LaSalle Street and was it Stavesti High School before dropping out to join the U.S. Army on his 17th birthday. After leaving the army, Myers struggled with finding work and figuring out his purpose. This struggle led to remember the advice given by his high school teacher, and he began writing columns for Men's Magazine. It wasn't until Myers read the book Sonny's Blues by James Baldwin, which takes place in Harlem and focuses on African American characters, that he was inspired to start writing stories based on his own experiences growing up. So Myers lived in Jersey City, New Jersey with his family. His family includes his wife, son Arthur, and illustrator Christopher Meyer, son Michael, 6 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren. A daughter, Karen, predeceased him. Okay. So, a prolific author, Myers wrote over 100 books for children and young adults during his 45-year writing career. Myers' writing focused on his hard experiences as a teenager, and he worked to show troubled teens that reading is a necessity in life. For the years 2012 and 2013, Myers was the national ambassador for young people's literature by appointment of the Library of Congress, a 2-year position created to raise national awareness of the importance of lifelong literacy and education. During his time as the National Ambassador for Young People's Literature, Myers toured the United States advocating reading and using the slogan, "Reading is not optional," to inspire teens to read. All right. So on July the 1st, Myers died at Bethel Israel Medical Center in Midtown Manhattan after a brief illness. His last written work was an op-ed for the New York Times, "Where Are the People of Color in Children's Books," which I got with me in handy, in which he calls for a more complete representation of African Americans in children's literature. A We Need Diverse Books grant and award were named after him. All right, so it goes on to list the awards that he received. Okay, so I'm not gonna go through all that, but he received the Margaret Atwood Award in 1994, and he also received the Haynes Christian Anderson Award in 2010, the Margaret A. Edwards Award. Let's see, what else? Okay. So, and it said he was a finalist for Young People's Literature in 1999 for Monster, and in 2005 for Autobiography of My Dead Brother, and in 2010 for Lockdown. Myers is mentioned in Sharon Creech's 2001 poetic novella, Love That Dog, in which a young boy admires Myers and invites him to visit his class. All right, so these are the complete bibliography and publication order. So he wrote the book called The Life of a Harlem Man, Where Does a Day Go? All right, which was a children's book. The Dragon Takes a Wife, The Dancer, Fly Jimmy Fly, The World of Work, A Guide to Choosing a Career, Fast Sam, Cool Clyde and Stuff, Social Welfare, Brainstorm, Mojo and the Russian, Victory for Jamie, It Ain't All for Nothing, The Young Landlords, Black Pearl and the Ghost, or One Mystery After Another. Let's see, The Golden Serpent, Hoops, The Legend of Tariq, Won't Know Till I Get There, The Nicholas Factor, Tales of a Dead King, Mr. Monkey and the Gotcha Bird, Motown and Diddy, The Outside Shot, Adventures in Grenada, The Hidden Shrine, Dole in the Desert, Ambush in the Amazon, Sweet Illusion, Crystal, Scorpions, Me, Mop, and the Moon Dance Kid, Fallen Angels. And it's the list. It's a long list. It's a long list. All right. So that's just to name a few. But like I said, I also got a few of his books that I want to share with you guys. And also it shows his selected work on here as well. So Okay. So once again, that is him. This is Mr. Meyers. Okay, back in 2013. All right. Hey, greetings. How you doing? Shout out to London. I see y'all. Y'all doing y'all thing. Shout out to London. So let me read this little piece that he done. Okay, so this is called Where Are the People of Color in Children's Book by Walter Dean Meyers. Okay, so it was written March 15, 2014. Okay, so this was the last piece that he written. All right, and it says, reading came early to me, but I didn't. It says, reading came early to me, but I didn't think of the words as anything special. I didn't think my stepmom thought of what she was doing as more than spending time with me in our small Harlem apartment. From my comfortable perch on her lap, I watched as she moved her finger slowly across the page. She probably read at about the third grade level, but that was good enough for me. The true romance magazine she read. I didn't understand what the stories were about, what bosom meant, or how someone's heart could be broken. To me, it was just the comfort of leaning against mama and imagining the characters and what they were doing. And he goes on to say, later, when my sisters brought home comic books, I got mama to read them to me too. The magazine and comics pushed me along the road of the imaginative process when I got my first books. The little engine that could, Bible stories for every day, and Goldilocks and the Three Bears. I used them on the same journey in the landscape of my mind. I labored as hard as I could to get up the hill. I stood on the plain next to David as he fought Goliath and taste of porridge with Goldilocks. Mm. And as a teenager, I romped the forest with Robin Hood and trembled to the sound of gunshots with Henry in the red badge of courage. Later, when Mama's problem began to overwhelm her, I wrestled with the demons of dealing with one's mother with Stephen the Dallas in a portrait of the artist as a young man. But by then, I was beginning the quest for my own identity. To an extent, I found who I was in the books I read. I was a person who felt the drama of great pain and greater joys, whose emotion could soar within the five acts structure of a Shakespearean play, or find quiet comfort in the poems of Gabriella Mistral. Every book was a landscape upon which I was free to wander. Then let's go ahead and skip down a little bit. He says, but there was something missing. I needed more than the characters in the Bible to identify with, or even the characters in Arthur Miller play, or my beloved Balzac. As I discovered who I was, a black teenager in a white dominant world, I saw that these characters, these lives were not mine. I didn't want to become the black representative or some shining example of diversity. What I needed really was to become an integral and valued part of the mosaic that I saw around me. Books did not become my enemy. They were more like my friends with whom I no longer felt comfortable. I stopped reading. I stopped going to school. On my 17th birthday, I joined the army. In retrospect, I see that I had lost the potential person I would become. An odd idea that I could not have articulated at the time, but that seems so clear today. My post-army days became dreadful, and a drunken stumble through life with me holding on just enough to survive. Fueled by the shortest and most meaningful conversation I ever had in a school hallway with the one English teacher in my high school, Sebastian, who knew I was going to drop out, I began to write short columns for a local tabloid and racy stories for Men's Magazine. Seeing my name in print helped a little. All right. So he talks about James Baldwin, Sonny Blues. He said, I didn't love the story, but I was lifted by it. For it took me to place in Harlem. It was a story concerned with black people like those I knew, by humanizing the people who were like me. Baldwin's story also humanized me. The story gave me a permission that I didn't know I needed. The permission to write about my own landscape, my own map. During my only meeting with Baldwin at City College, I blurted out to him what his story had done to me or done for me. I know exactly what you mean, he said. I had to leave Harlem and the United States to search for who I was. Isn't that a shame? And when I left Baldwin that day, I felt elated that I had met a writer I had so admired, that we had a shared experience. But later I realized how much more meaningful it would have been to have known Baldwin's story at 15 or at 14, perhaps even younger, before I had started my subconscious quest for identity. All right. So basically, just to leave it there, this is what had inspired him. Okay, so he was inspired to write even more because he met James Baldwin, and James Baldwin happened to become one of his favorite authors. So when he see that James Baldwin wrote books about, life as African Americans, he wrote a lot of poems and things like that. He said, you know what, this is going to push me even further because we have to really tell our story, whether it be using fictitious, fictional characters or writing in form of fiction, or whether it be non-fiction. We got to be able to tell the story. We have to be able to be the ones to narrate those stories. And so that's the way that Mr. Dean felt. Mr. Meyers felt, he felt that, more us black people need to get more involved in literature and write literature that will be more relatable to our people. And that's what he did. So I'm just going to show you guys a few books that he has written. Okay. And I think you guys should check it out for yourself. So I'm not going to really go into the books or whatnot. I'm not going to go into all the details, but I'm just going to show you guys the title. But I know you guys can find this at Barnes and Nobles, and you can find them on Amazon. I know that for a fact. So this book right here is called Monster. Okay. This book is called Monster. All right. So you guys check this book out. Okay, let's see what year he wrote this book. Let's see. Okay, the book was written in 1999. It was written in 1999. So you make sure you guys check that book out. It's called Monster. And then there's another book that he wrote, which is called Bad Boy. Bad Boy by Walter Dean Meyers. And that's his memoir. So memoir is an autobiography. So that's his autobiography about his life growing up and being born in West Virginia and growing up in Harlem, New York. So this is his autobiography. Make sure you guys check this book out. Okay. And he wrote this in He wrote this in 2001. Okay, so he wrote that book in 2001. All right. Then he has another one called Fallen Angels. All right, so this one is the special anniversary edition. It's called Fallen Angels. So make sure y'all check that book out. And this one was written in I don't know what year this book was written in, but I'm assuming that. Let me look it up. Okay, so Fallen Angel was written in 1988. So that book was written in 1988. It was pretty much about the story of the Vietnam War. All right, and let me tell you what the book Bad Boy was about. Okay. So again, Bad Boy was about his memoir, his life. All right, so let's look up this one about Monster. All right, so it was published on April 21st, 1999. It is a young adult drama novel by Walter Dean Meyers. It was nominated for 1999 National Book Award for Young People's Literature and won the Michael L. Prince Award in 2008 and was named the Coretta Scott King Award honor the same year. Okay, so it uses a mixture of third-person screenplay and first-person diary format to tell the story through the perspective of Steve Harmon, an African-American teenager. So let me just give you the plot. Okay. So the novel begins with 16-year-old Steve Hartman writing in his book awaiting for his trial for murder. Musing on his short time in prison so far, he decided to record the upcoming experience in form of a movie screenplay. Kathy O'Brien, Steve's lawyer, informed him on what would happen during the trial. At this stage, only two of the four accused, James King and Steve, will be tried since the other two accused, Richard Bobo Evans and Osvaldo Cruz, have entered into a plea bargain when the trial first begins. Steve flashes back to a movie he saw in his school film of Predictability. Okay. Then it goes on to say the trial begins with the opening statements of the prosecutor Sandra Pastroselli, Miss O'Brien's and King's lawyer. Asa Briggs Pastroselli labels the four accused men, including Steve, as monsters. The lawyers call on several witnesses, including Salvatore Zenzi and Wendell Bolden, illicit cigarette traders who admit to buying cigarettes that came from a drugstore robbery that led to the murder. So the story of the trial is often broken up by a variety of flashbacks, including one showing that King is only acquainted with Steve, that King had accused Steve of pulling the trigger during the robbery. Petroselli calls as a witness a Salvador Cruz, who is affiliated with the Dabalos, a violent street gang. Cruz admits to participating in the crime only due to coercion by Bobo. All right, so as you can see, so far this story is about a young man who happened to be on trial for murder, and he was one of the accused suspect of murdering an individual. And this all goes back into relation about street life, drugs, and gang activity, violence, etc. So, but he happened to be a main target, a main individual. So while he's going through his murder trial, whatnot, he decided to write a story to pretty much tell his side of the story about what's going on in his life and all the way up to the current situation. Okay, but it sounds like to me that they should make a movie out of this. Yeah, they should make a movie out. Well, you know what? There's a movie called no. Well, the movie that Halle Berry played in was called Monster Ball. So yeah, that's Monster Ball. But they should make a movie out this novel right here, Monster. You know, because I think that it will really bring more exposure to the author and introduce what he was. So hopefully one day somebody, I will hope that it will be a black director or producer that would sit down and talk to the Myers family and ask them if they could make a movie about Monster, so that way it can be on the big screen and more people can be able to watch it and get a get some exposure and get oh, they got a movie out already about him. Oh, so they got the movie. So you say it's on Netflix. So let me look that up. Let me make sure. Monster Netflix. Hold on, let me look that up. Oh, you done beat me to the punch. You beat me to the punch. Hmm. You beat me to the punch, Vinyasa. You really did. You know, that's funny. I didn't even know they had a movie. Hold on. Let me show something real fast. Because I didn't know they had a movie about this. Let's see. Shout out to brother Vinyasa for that. Thank you. So they do have a movie out, actually. Ooh, it's on Netflix. Okay. So the movie came out in 2018. All right. And it was based on the novel by Walter Dean Meyers. So that's cool. I have to check that out. I have to check that out when I get a chance to, you know. But I don't want to download Netflix because Netflix they too high. They too high at this point. If they lower their prices down, I'll probably stick around. I know I had Netflix for a while and yeah, I had to unsubscribe because they was going up on their prices. But yeah, I didn't know they came out with a movie. I had to check that film out. I'm gonna have to check it out and then I'm gonna have to share it. But wow. But thank you for putting me on today, Vinyasa. Thank you so much. Wow. Didn't even know. See, that's funny that I thought about the movie, but I didn't even know there was a movie that actually came out. See? That's interesting. Very interesting. But yes, that's all I have for today as far as the information. Like I said, if you guys want more information about the books that he's written, I can share with you guys on my Facebook channel. And yeah, I will share with you guys on my Facebook page. Just make sure you guys add me on Facebook if you don't have me as a friend on Facebook. And I'm gonna go back in the habit of using my Twitter account too. So yeah, so be on the lookout for that. So I'll make sure that I add some of this stuff on the Facebook group and you guys can look it up for yourselves and check it out and all that extra stuff. So all right then. But anyways, I hope you guys have a good one. Yes. And you all be safe. And I will reconnect with you guys later because there's more to talk about. As a matter of fact, I want to get into the book by Gordon Parks. Okay. Hold on, give me a second. Okay, and so hopefully tomorrow, Friday, if things go well, I am going to be discussing this guy right here. This guy named Gordon Parks. So he wrote a book called Learning Tree, but he was known as a photographer. All right, but I'll make sure that I will put him next in line on the topic. Okay. So, and it's so funny because my father actually gave me this book to read. So yeah, my father has books on Black history stuff too. He has more books than I do, and a lot of it is old. So this is one of the books that he gave to me. Um, so I'll be able to make sure that I do the video topic on Gordon Parks. So be on the lookout for it. All right, and we're gonna have a discussion about this book. So I'm gonna make sure I start reading this book today, and that way I can have the conversation with y'all tomorrow. All right, on Friday. All right. So, anyways, with that being said, this your girl Tiffany, and I'm getting ready to log off. So, I want you guys to have a good one. Please be safe. Please be productive. And until next time, peace and power, elevation be to all of you. And I'm out. Deuces. All right, then.